There's an old saying that all that is required for evil to win is for good men to do nothing. The Republican Party in the last few weeks has done nothing in the face of evil. And we're not talking about evil as in gas prices and all that stuff. We're not even talking about abortion. We're talking about the evil of blatant racism gone mainstream. Blatant racism threatening to tear apart this country for the sake of votes, the sake of power. What you're about to hear, actually, is a report from Eddie Hassan from MSNBC about the instances that racism, blatant, complete racism, has been done in the past by the Republican Party and has been being done now in the Republican Party. And just like then, as now, the Republican Party is refusing to do anything about it. Take a listen.
There has always been a racist, white supremacist fringe to the modern Republican Party. It hasn't always been overt, but it has reared its head from time to time, going back decades. Republican leaders, even presidents, have indulged it. For example, tapes from the Nixon era show the president engaging in blatant anti-Semitism.
I look at you about close bottom. And so there's this strange malignancy now that seems to creep among them. I don't know, radicalism. The Jews are born spies. You know somebody they're just in it, up to their necks.
And Ronald Reagan infamously popularized the racist trope of the welfare queen.
In Chicago, they found a woman who holds the record. She used 80 names, 30 addresses, 15 telephone numbers to collect food stamps, Social Security, veterans benefits for 4 non-existent deceased veterans' husbands, as well as welfare. Her tax-free cash income alone has been running $150,000 a year.
George H.W. Bush campaigned on racist stereotypes about black people and crime, most famously the Willie Horton ad in 1988.
Dukakis not only opposes the death penalty, he allowed first-degree murderers to have weekend passes from prison. One was Willie Horton, who murdered a boy in a robbery, stabbing him 19 times. Despite a life sentence, Horton received 10 weekend passes from prison. Horton fled, kidnapped a young couple, stabbing the man and repeatedly raping his girlfriend.
So they have been doing this racist dog whistling forever. Every Republican president going back 50 years has known that their party includes racists, anti-Semites, and white nationalists, and they have all catered to those people in some shape or form. But what makes our current political moment so scary is that that fringe element has now become mainstream. And if you thought it was bad during the Trump presidency, well, it's gotten even worse since he left office. The past 18 months have been like racist Trumpism on steroids. Over the weekend, at a Trump rally in Nevada, Alabama Senator Tommy Tuberville spouted the same racist tropes about black people and crime that we heard 30 years ago, and just like in the Willie Horton ad, he began by blaming Democrats.
Some people say, well, they're soft on crime. No, they're not soft on crime. They're pro-crime. They want crime. They want crime because they want to take over what you got. They want to control what you have. They want reparation because they think the people that do the crime are owed that. Bull. They are not owed that.
The people that do the crime are owed reparations. Note the cheers from the crowd there. And that was especially disgusting coming from Tuberville, a guy who spent decades working with black athletes as a head football coach at several universities. Just yesterday, at yet another Trump rally, it was Georgia Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, oh yes, spewing vile anti-immigrant rhetoric.
Joe Biden's 5 million illegal aliens are on the verge of replacing you, replacing your jobs, and replacing your kids in school. And coming from all over the world, they're also replacing your culture. And that's not great for America.
Replacing you, replacing your culture. To be clear, Marjorie Taylor Greene there is espousing a neo-Nazi conspiracy theory known as the Great Replacement. It's the same vile ideology that the white supremacist mass shooter at the Pittsburgh Tree of Life synagogue ascribed to. What used to be disguised with dog whistle language and innuendo is now right there at the surface. It is so normalized on the right. Watch how late last month at a North Carolina rally, the crowd just assumes that the ex-president is talking about the N-word, even if he says he wasn't, and they shout it back at him.
You know, Putin mentioned the N-word. You know what the N-word is? It's no. It's the nuclear word. He mentioned the N-word yesterday, the nuclear word, not supposed to be mentioned.
Now, the icing on the racist cake came in the wake of Kanye West's promotional tour on Fox with Tucker Carlson on Thursday and Friday nights, and the tweet that followed in which he threatened to go, quote, DEFCON 3 on Jewish people. Twitter has since shut down Kanye's account, but this tweet remains up from Republican Attorney General Todd Rokita of Indiana, defending Kanye West's, quote, independent thinking. Now, Rokita has since claimed that he was referring to the hypocrisy of the media and Hollywood elites, but it is difficult to imagine that he had not seen Kanye West's anti-Semitic comments that the whole internet had been talking about all day long. And notably, not a single elected Republican has stood up to condemn Attorney General Rokita for those comments, or Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene for espousing great replacement theory, or Senator Tommy Tuberville for his claims that people who want reparations are criminals. Look, I'm Muslim. I'm used to Islamophobia being mainstream, as it has been for a while now, sadly. But I never thought anti-black racism and anti-Semitism would become mainstream again in America, and so quickly. And it's only going to get worse as we approach the midterm elections and the next presidential campaign. Because there are no consequences, no penalties for this openly racist rhetoric on the right. In fact, there are rewards. So let's be clear, this is not racially tinged or allegedly racist stuff. This is brazen racism, plain and simple, and we all need to call it out.
First off, thanks for ASN to call this all out, and we need to do that as well. We let the Republican Party get away with too much crap when it comes to racism in this country. A lot of the people who are just being silent about it think it's going to blow over. They're like, we just have to hold out till the election's over with, and it'll go up. It'll go away. It won't. People like Marjorie Taylor Greene, Tommy Tuberville, Donald Trump, and so many others out there who push this anti-Semitism and anti-blackness in this country are just as dangerous as the gunman in the Tree of Life synagogue years ago, or the Buffalo shooter who murdered African Americans in that supermarket. They might not be handling or pulling the trigger, but they are the ones handing them the gun. It's no different whatsoever than the Ku Klux Klan Grand Dragons of yesteryear screaming that if African Americans get civil rights in this country will burn. This country will be destroyed. The white man's America will be destroyed. It is no different than that. So we need to call it out. We need to start taking the fight to them. Now, I don't mean fight as in guns and weapons or anything like that. I mean by our votes. Because these people think that they're not being racist because they think, and just because I feel that way, they assume that every American, including Black Americans, because they because they have Kanye West on their side, they think that it's okay now. I can be racist all I want. I have a black friend in Kanye. No. The time of not taking any responsibility has got to end. And the longer it goes on, the worse it's going to get, to the point where the N-word is spoken out aloud, where I can call a Jewish person or a Mexican or a Latino or man or woman anything I want and face no consequences for it. That's not the way it's supposed to be in this country. And one more thing before I close out this video. We need to be very careful about people who are, let me put it this way, too polite when it comes to racism. Just because a person doesn't call me the N-word because I'm black, or because they don't call you any racist word because you're white or Jewish or Latino or Muslim or anything else, just because they don't say it, they wrap it up in colorful language as Donald Trump did, or Tommy Tuberville did, or Marjorie Taylor Greene did, or anyone else did, doesn't mean they're not racist. They're just better practiced at covering up that racism. We need to be very mindful of the people we let around us or we give our votes to. Because sooner or later, those things are going to come back and bite us in the ass in the worst possible way. And it's unfortunate that I have to make a video like this because racism and prejudice should be things we should be reading in history books, not experiencing here and now, and not at the highest levels of government in our country. I thought we were past all that, but apparently people like Tommy Tuberville, people like Marjorie Taylor Greene, people like Lauren Boebert, people like the rest of the Republican Party and their followers, and especially people like Donald Trump. They don't want to change, and they don't want to take the time and the effort and the means to change. All they want is control, and they'll do anything to do so, even appealing to the lowest common denominator of racism and prejudice in this country, pushing lies like the replacement theory, pushing lies about African Americans and crime, pushing lies about racial stereotypes to do so. And right now, we as Americans need to call all of them out on it. CTP, know the truth. God bless. Peace to the left, justice to the right.